You're listening to the 702 Gaming Podcast, outline number 6.
Yes.
Me and Jason here. Josh is out of town. How you doing, Jason?
I'm good. I'm good. How you doing?
Very good.
Nice.
Uh, Today I want to talk about some of our favorite older games,
Oh
retro
man.
games.
Oh man.
Yes, sir.
This is why I'm
This is in
here.
your wheelhouse.
This is why I'm here.
This is your wheelhouse. Do you have any off the top of your head that you would call favorite?
Yeah. I probably have too many off the top of my head, but we won't do
All right,
that.
we'll stick to just a few each, but
Fine, whatever. Um, so I have the first one that comes to mind for me. At it, this one holds a special place for me because it's one that a lot of people complain about now, but when it came out, there were no complaints. It was like, this is amazing. It's a departure from the first. Super Mario Brothers 2. I
okay.
actually feel that Super Mario Brothers 2 is better than Super Mario Brothers. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and no one
Okay.
thinks that.
And wasn't there like two versions of Mario 2? Like a Japanese version and American version?
So there
Am
are
I
two
wrong?
versions of Mario 2. Essentially, what we know of as Super Mario Brothers 2 is called Doki Doki Panic in Japan.
Okay.
So when Super Mario Brothers hit and it was what it was, basically reinvigorating the video game market after the crash that Atari kind of caused themselves. Once it hit and was as popular as it was, there was a big push to get a sequel out. So there is a legitimate sequel to Super Mario Brothers, and we call that the Lost Levels here in America.
Ah,
All right.
yes. Okay.
So, what they ended up doing in this rush was to just basically rebrand an existing game, which was Doki Doki Panic. And I personally, I think it's a better game than what the Lost Levels is. And anyone who's played that one, it's like, this is hard. This is just really a hard game. You've got, the the mushrooms that kill you in there instead of when you're getting a mushroom it's a good thing, right? Like there were so many things that were changed to me just punish you as a player. Whereas with Super Mario Brothers 2, that departure from what the original was, like being able to get hit multiple times, that's something that's simple, but you only could get hit twice in the first Mario, right? So being able to build your power level up essentially by getting more and more mushrooms. You could take multiple hits now. If you get hit too many times, now you're miniature and now you're bigger. Once you like all those different things, all the different secret worlds, which I guess the first one kind of had that, but it was more so warp zones. But with
Uh-huh.
this one, it just everything about it felt different, right? And it also introduced me to my favorite Mario character of all times, which is the princess, right? She's no longer just being held captive in another castle, for 8 levels. You see that she's, pretty BA herself. So I always use her now. In any Mario game, I'm always using the
That's
princess.
cool.
Yeah. It
That's
also
cool.
introduced Toad, which I'm cool on that, but and the worst jump in history, just
Yeah.
so bad. So bad.
Well,
But
yeah, so Mario 2, I remember the graphics was a big leap from part 1. It looked more drawn than pixelated, right?
yeah, it was I mean, it had more of they were all cartoony, I
Yeah.
suppose. But it just had a different feel to it. Like the world was more colorful, the enemies were, goofier. Um, when the last level boss, Wart, maybe he's not like the best like in-game boss, but it was just different. There was nothing
Hmm.
about this one that reminded you of part one. And to me, when you have a sequel, that's what you want to do, right? Like if the Lost Levels, which is actually Super Mario Brothers 2, if that had come out, as the legitimate Super Mario Brothers 2, it would have sold well, but it would have been the same game.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know there is a difference between Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man, but it's Pac-Man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Still Pac-Man.
All right.
Yeah.
It's you know, Madden to Madden to Madden to Madden. It's still football. So
Yeah.
to me, Mario Brothers 2, hands down, that's definitely one that has
That's a good one.
yeah.
That is one that I don't think gets appreciated enough in the Mario franchise, especially. I really enjoyed that one as well. The fact that you could certain characters when you jumped on them, they didn't just die, you would land on them, right? And
Yeah.
they'd walk you around,
You could
and then you
ride
could
them.
decide to pick them up if you wanted.
Right. Right.
Um, and then each character had its own thing, right? Didn't Princess kind of floated
Yeah,
with her dress?
she had the float jump.
Mm-hmm.
Luigi had the one with his crazy legs like this, but he
Yep.
actually could jump the highest. Mario was
Uh-huh.
a basic Mario, and Toad had the horrible jump, but when he picked anything up, it didn't affect his jump at all.
Ah,
So with everyone
that
else,
was
if
his
it
thing. Okay.
right, so yeah, everything about that one, like I said, it just it was to me what you want out of a sequel, even though I don't think it's what they meant to do initially. They just wanted to get something out there, you know, to put that Mario name on so that, you know, to keep our appetites, you know, satiated, I
Yeah.
suppose. But it ended up being a really good game
Yeah.
to me.
And it wasn't just left and right the maps. I remember there was maps that were vertical where you
Yeah.
went up,
Yep. You can go up,
stuff like
you can go
that. That was
down.
cool. And it instead of getting into pipes, didn't you do a lot of going into doorways? And there were some doors that were like you had to be small to go in. Am I right?
There's doorways, there's you know, ancient pots that you know, you go down in, and
That's
then there
right.
happened to be
Yeah.
sand in there, and you could dig through that sand, and oh, you found a key or whatever,
Oh
you know.
man, I forgot about the sand.
Yeah. And it introduced the gaming world to the most powerful destructive weapon of all time, which is that POW block. All right. You could destroy everything in the
Wow.
world with that. It didn't matter what was on screen. If you picked that up and threw it down, everything shakes, and you're like, "Oh my God!" Like, yeah, telling you, it did a lot. I think for Mario, and to me, it's kind of a shame that that world hasn't been revisited.
Yeah.
You know, like it, that was the kind of the Zelda 2 of the Mario franchise. We were like, yeah, we did it, but we're not gonna do that again. Like,
We aren't going
yeah,
back.
we're not gonna do that again. So, and what
I
about
like
yours?
that one though. That was a good one. First one I want to mention is a game that I used to play with my brother pretty much nonstop. Was a 1991 Sega game, Toe Jam and Earl.
That's a
So
it's a weird game, man.
it is a weird one, but the fact that we could play co-op
Mm.
and we didn't have to take turns, but we could both get on the game. And so what this game is you're two aliens. One alien has three legs and two like snail eyes coming out the top of his head. And the other one's a big old chunky guy. Um, they're both aliens. They're flying through space, uh, listening to like their hip hop music because it was very
I
like hip
remember,
hop.
yeah, the
Like
music to
the
it.
music back then was just beeps and whistles,
Right.
back on the Sega, but they did it good on there with like it sounded if you look it up on YouTube or you play some of that music, the music's still jamming, man. Or
Are you
uh
is that on your MP3 player?
yeah, it's yep. It's my workout music.
That's awesome.
But uh so these aliens crash land on Earth and Earth ends up getting destroyed. And so each level is chunks of Earth that you can actually fall off the edge into space. And the levels, I can't remember how many levels it goes up to. I don't know if it was, you know, 30 levels or something like that.
Mhm.
You would have to find on the map somewhere as you're walking around, it would open up the map more. You would try and find this elevator. There's kind of like a Bill and Ted type phone booth
Uh,
looking thing that you get
okay.
in and it would take you to the next level and you're trying to get up to the top level to get home. As you're going, you're finding like ship parts and everything. But the bad guys are these wacky, zany characters, like just hilarious characters that you're running away from. And if say you're on level 25 and you accidentally fall off the edge, you're now back on 24.
Okay, so something you're saying about that, like I played that game also on Sega
Yeah.
Channel, which, you know,
Oh yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, I did not know until you said it right now that those are chunks of Earth that you're supposed. I always wondered what that was about. It looked like puzzle pieces.
Yeah, it does
right?
look like that. Yep. Yep.
And I would always fall off, and I after I fell off, I'm like, well, this is dumb. I don't want to keep starting from like the lower level. Like that
Yeah.
always upset me, but I didn't know that that's what that was even supposed to be.
Yeah, so when you get to the top level and you have all the parts for your ship, I think you put it all together and you go at the end, spoiler alert, you fly away back to your home planet. And then at the very end of the game, it's just one open map where you just walk around your planet and there's a bunch of aliens and you can go talk to people and stuff. It's just like a cool ending to the game. And you can play there
Didn't
as
know
long
that.
as you want. We also knew of the secret. If you keep falling off the edge, you could fall off enough times to where it shows you fall off and you just hear, "Ah," and then you see your guy come down the screen,
Mhm.
and then it would go to another screen of space. "Ah," and you just keep falling and falling and falling until you finally land on this tiny little island in space where there's like a bar, like a tiki bar, and there's a
What?
jacuzzi with like women sitting in the jacuzzi, and you could get in the jacuzzi with them, and
Nice. Nice.
it was this cool like hidden secret. It was
Nice.
cool.
Um,
And it was like a game where as long as you two were next to each other, it was full screen. But if you walked
right,
apart, it went to split screen.
right. That was probably one of the only games in that era that I can think of that did that.
Yeah,
Okay,
same.
so most of the time, yeah, if you try to get too far apart, the screen just wouldn't let you go, but you could
Yep.
go and explore on your own. That I did think was pretty cool. And the
Yeah,
music's cool too, I guess.
the music was cool.
If you're into that weird
And
funk.
they had a few sequels come out,
Right.
and none of them were good. So don't play any of the other ones.
I think they have one on the, did they have one on the 64? I feel like
I
they went on
um,
to
they
the,
had the third one was a little bit later, like into that era, or
yeah, maybe it was a PlayStation. I can't remember now.
PlayStation 1, it might have been.
Hmm.
Yeah, but none of those ones were good. So,
Yeah, none of the old school type of games like that translated well to
mhm.
the PlayStation N64, I guess Saturn, uh, Dreamcast era, because in my opinion, everything they were like, well, if it's on these systems, make it 3D.
That's
And
exactly what I think. Yeah.
yeah, and they
Yep.
don't translate well to that
Yep.
at all. Like,
Well, even if they kept the gameplay 2D-ish like the original,
right,
they then make the graphics 3D, and it always
it's
just comes out
horrible.
looking bad, where those older games were forced to draw each character and each animation. It came out, even though it was pixelated, it looked great.
Oh yeah, pixel art I think ages very well,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
pixel art sprites versus the polygon era. Like when
Yep.
you see those two, you can, I mean, obviously I'm a nostalgic gamer, but if you take a look at, I don't know, let's,
The original Tomb Raider.
oh man, like what,
Ouch.
so bad. I mean, there's not any good music, if there's music at all in the game. Uh, all that weird platforming you're trying to do when, 3D was becoming a thing, it was impossible to get on ledges
Yep.
ever. All right. And then if you get attacked by something, good luck. And the controls were bad. Like it just controlled so bad. And it was that
Yep.
Polygon 3 era. Like,
And at the time, the graphics were pretty mind-blowing at the time, but that didn't last long. Where
no.
when you look back now, those look bad, where games that are older than them look better
Yeah.
than those ones because they all look like paper mache T-Rex
Hmm.
coming at you and
Well,
ugh.
I played, and this is not on my list, but it can be on any list, I believe. I guess I'll just talk about it now then. Uh,
Yeah.
Earthworm Gym. Okay.
Yeah.
Besides just being insanely hard, that was one of the more difficult games ever to me. It was so much fun. And you just, no matter how hard it was, how many times you died trying to launch this cow off this catapult and weird, it was so much weird stuff going
So
on.
weird.
Uh, just basic enemies could kill you dead. And I mean, like on the first level, those crows, anyone who's played the game, those crows,
Rose. And
and
you had
you're
to shoot
trying
your
to,
little machine gun
yeah,
thing
you're
at
trying
them.
to shoot them and they're all
Ooh.
over the place. You finally take your head, which is the actual worm that your body is, and you pull it out of your spacesuit and you start whipping. your body at the crows. You know, if you whip one of them and then the feathers everywhere, the little beak falls down. And but one crow, yeah, could kill you. And if it grabbed your head, it looked like it was trying to pull a worm out the ground.
That's right.
And you're just like, whoa, whoa, like all over the. Gotta love that. They did a updated 3D polygon version of that. Worst thing ever. Worst thing ever. It doesn't translate very well.
Bad again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just absolutely bad. And I always wondered, like, with the power of those newer systems, even the new systems now, to be honest, what you could do with one of those games, right? If you were to take even Mario, and Nintendo has done this, so I guess it's a good example, but you take that old original Mario game and remake that for today's system, what you could do with that, like how
Yeah.
that could look. But when the first iterations of those 3D systems, the PS1 and the 64 and all that, when those came out and they tried to do it, it's like, please don't do this anymore. These are all bad. Every single one of them are bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you're right, though. I think these new consoles could really take something simple like the original Mario, maybe not the Switch, but maybe if they come out with the Switch Pro, but
Mm,
uh like a photorealistic version
that would be amazing.
of Mario would be crazy
Yeah,
to
or it'd be
look at.
scary.
Just
It
or
might
be scary
it might be like, nightmare
because that dude's
inducing.
proportions, yeah.
Crazy, right? Just crazy. I'm
I'd
actually
love to
more
see it.
frightened of his brother Luigi, but
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe Toad. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Really, any of them. I guess I'll have to go back to Earthworm Jim. I don't want to see that looking
Yeah.
photorealistic.
I don't know.
That'll
That'd be
haunt your dreams right there.
That's a good one. Did you ever beat Earthworm Jim? Because I never
I
did.
don't know anyone who has.
I think
I think
there
it's
was like a
impossible.
junkyard level with like the bulldog would try and
That's where I
get
would get
you and
every time.
ooh,
That's as far as I could get was
man.
that level.
Yeah, that was a
Uh,
rough game.
yeah. There was.
It was cool though.
I'm pretty sure that the level I considered the hell level, where everything looks like it's on fire. I think that might
Yeah.
be after the junkyard level. If it is, then
I
I guess
think
I
I
got
got to that one too.
okay.
Yep.
And the music was cool there. That's what I remember. Great music and everything, and yeah, really good game. Part two was
Yeah.
amazing also, but equally as hard.
Good one. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Second one I thought of was Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
They're coming to your neighborhood.
You're not the pizza guy.
Zombies ate my neighbors! Now playing on Sega Genesis and Super NES, a 55-level feeding frenzy of prime-cut creature features, fending off bee-moving maniacs with your weed whackers, exploding soda pop, and boozy squirt gun. Save the neighbors! Or they're dead meat. Zombies ate my neighbors! From Konami.
Good man. This is why you are my peoples with an S. All right.
Yep.
Great game, man. Great game.
Man, that was another co-op game, right? Two
Yeah.
player.
Yep.
And did that one go split screen?
As soon
don't
as you
know if
brought
that
this
one
up,
did.
now I'm thinking I don't know if it did. My youngest nephew and I played that a couple years ago. When I just saw him recently, he brought that up, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome that you
Yeah.
remember that because you're still so young."
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we sat in the room playing it, and I'm looking at him have fun on this, and I'm like, "I thought you would think this is horrible, but it's amazing, though. It's a great game."
It was a game that had the same kind of view as Toe Jam and Earl, where it's like a Diablo style camera angle, right? Where you're
Right.
just looking down at your character and you start out in your house and zombies took over the neighborhood. And so
Mhm.
you're kind of running through and you go into the grocery store. And then once you get into the grocery store, there's like these little like Chucky dolls that have like Jason masks
They
coming after
come
you,
yelling
right?
out of the boxes like, "Yeah, yeah!" I remember
And then
that.
it gets crazier and crazier. Like the night level has werewolves everywhere.
Right.
Uh, I think you get to a beach level that has swamp things coming at you,
I
or like
don't
Creature of the Black Lagoon type
know if I've ever been to a
creatures or
beach level.
something. Um,
Hmm.
I think there was boss battles.
There were. I distinctly remember a giant baby on a football field that was stomping me.
It,
So
You'll never forget that.
that's what's in that game. Giant
Yeah, that
baby
game was,
stumps.
and so that one came out also on Sega in 1993,
Hmm.
and that one was LucasArts game,
Yeah,
which
weird.
Lucas as in Star Wars, and
All right. That was
it's pretty
weird
cool.
that came out on that or from that production house, but I think they did more than just Star Wars games.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
obviously
At that time,
Lucasfilm.
they were doing. Um, was it Lucas that was doing like point and click like adventure games, like Monkey Island and
Yeah,
stuff?
I
Were they
think they
doing that?
did. I'm not sure if Monkey Island is theirs, but yeah, they had a lot of those point and click
Like that type?
adventures. Those
Yeah,
games are
yeah.
really popular, like early 90s.
Really popular.
Super
Yeah.
popular games. But no, I agree with you on Zombies at My Neighbors. I'm a big horror movie guy, so that of course is right up my alley, and I remember being able to find the potions in the game. You could drink them, and then you might become a werewolf, and then you could just
Oh,
punch
that's
people
right.
to bits,
Yeah,
And
that's
I'm like,
right.
dude, I want to do that in real life. Not the werewolf part, but just punch people to bits. You had the chainsaw dudes that were supposed to be like Jason and Leatherface because they've got the mask on, but with the chainsaw, and they're like chainsawing through the hedges trying to chase you. And
Yeah,
that was a really good game. It's a really good game.
very good.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Off the top of my head, I kind of mentioned it earlier. Zelda 2 is also the black sheep. That one holds a special place in my heart because that is the only Zelda game I've ever beaten. And I wanted the original Zelda so bad at the time when it came out and it became so popular. And, of course, you can't afford any of this stuff as a child. So I never played up until I think part two came out. And then I had an opportunity to play the first one. Like, oh, this game is awesome. I wonder what the second one's like. I'm not even sure how I got it, but I got it. I acquired it, right? Somehow. I didn't, but it was acquired for my household. And I put it in, and immediately I'm like, this is not the same game at all. Like it starts out, you're in a side view, so it's like a side scroller, which the first Zelda is not. It's that top down view. It's actually first Zelda is not really a top down view because you get to see your character, like his face and stuff like that. So it's almost, at that angle
It's
type of thing,
that
right?
angle. Yep. Yep.
But yeah, it wasn't like that at all. And the princess is already there. And I'm like, did I win? Like, I mean, she's asleep, but like, what's going on? And as soon as you leave that castle, you go out into the world and everything takes a completely different view. And now it's top down and you just see a tiny Link moving around in this giant map. And there's these little things that you'll encounter, like your random battle encounters. And I've
Hmm.
always hated those type of role-playing games where you're trying to take four steps and then you're in a battle, right? And the battle ends up being, uh, what should you do? Run, hit, I hate games like that.
Right.
So I'm in like right away, like, this is not what I want at all.
Like
It's
those are like turn-based,
turn-based, right?
right? Yeah.
Never like
Yeah.
that. So as soon as you encounter something in this one, it turns into a side scroller. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. You know, maybe 4 or 5 times of doing that. I'm like, oh, maybe I do like this.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all right. Took me one full summer to beat it. I would say I played it every day, but that wasn't happening in my house. Yeah, no. So
Not allowed.
no, 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 no. So I'm pretty sure I took like every Saturday that I could and finally made it through to fighting Dark Link. And yeah, that's a battle. That's a battle for you. But that game just had so much going for it. The magic, the spells, and all those different, like being able to turn into the fairy and all those things were so cool to me. That one, I know it
That's
gets
cool.
it's the black eye on, the whole Zelda franchise. I think it's an amazing game though.
Cool.
Yeah.
And the way you're explaining the battles, the way they pop up on you, it sounds, well, it reminds me of Mario 3 when you would be on the map and you'd be trying to get to the next level and the Hammer Brothers pop up on you.
Just gonna say those Hammer
It's
Brothers.
kind of like that. And you go into that side-scrolling battle. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Yeah. Boy, those Hammer Brothers, I tell you.
Yeah. They're up
Right.
to no good.
But remember,
Um,
there's one or two that you want to get to though, because they have the warp whistle. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you can't
Uh-huh.
miss all of them.
Um, Another game that I really enjoyed growing up was on Sega again.
Hmm.
Uh, so the reason I like Sega so much was I think a lot of games that I really enjoyed just happened to come out during that generation. So I just have fond memories of Sega.
Hmm.
And a lot of these games were probably also on Super Nintendo, but I'm not sure. General Chaos came out in 1994.
Great game.
And now this was a game where you either fought for General Chaos or General Havoc.
Hmm.
There's a blue team and a red team.
Hmm.
And you have this map of territory, and each time you take over a territory by winning the battle, you're marching closer and closer to the enemy's capital city, and you want to go take over their capital city. And so if you win two, you move over twice towards their capital. But then say you lose twice, you're both now back in the middle of the map. So it kind of, I liked the whole back and forth of it.
Yeah.
And a battle starts and you pick it, like randomly generates a couple teams that you get to pick from. You could, it'd be like a team of all machine gunners or a team of a couple machine gunners with a dynamite guy
Hmm.
and a rocket launcher guy.
Right.
And
My
you both
favorite.
pick, yeah, you both pick, and you end up on this map, and the map doesn't move or anything. You're just looking down at it. And if you had the full five team, you used a point and click to tell your guys where to go, and
Hmm.
you'd control them all to shoot at the same time and everything. It was kind of a strategy action game, I guess. It's all real time,
Hmm.
and there's objects to hide your guys behind
Right.
and take cover and everything, right? And if they got too close, they would get into a fist fight, and you'd see like that dust storm.
My favorite part. Easily
And
my
then you
favorite part.
Yep. And at that point, the game just kind of stops and everyone's looking at these two guys fighting, and you control them, and it's just a fist fight and to see who wins.
Hmm.
And there's just some cool moments in that game where, uh, like, if you were the rocket launcher guy and you hit someone direct hit, there was a small chance that you wouldn't just down them where they could get picked back up by a medic.
Right.
They would just
Well,
disintegrate.
yeah, that's what I remember. Right.
When that happened, he was like, "Oh, it's a game changer."
Wasn't there a
That was a good
flamethrower
game.
guy in there?
Oh, there was a
Yeah,
flamethrower. Yeah.
that's yeah. So I like the fist fights, of course, and
Hmm.
little fisticuffs there, and the flamethrower guy and the rocket launcher guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played that. I think the first time for me was on Sega Channel, which is man, it's so underrated, and it's
No.
crazy to me how many people have never even heard of it.
And and yeah, if you haven't heard of Sega Channel, imagine Game Pass.
Hmm.
It's Game Pass of its time. It was ahead of its time. I mean, this was not coming from the internet. This was coming from your cable provider,
Right.
like through your actual
Strictly
cable.
cable, yeah, strictly through
Yeah.
your cable.
And you plugged your cable, your coax cable coming out of your wall
Hmm.
into a cartridge that went into the top of your Sega.
Yep. I think it has a
Insane.
loop out. I have one here, so I think it in and then out so that you can get it back into the wall so that you could watch TV, also not just play Sega Channel, which is really all I
Yeah.
needed. Um, but yeah, to me that was definitely ahead of its time. They're actually, I believe, on the Intellivision, which I know a lot of people don't know what that is. Don't you worry. We'll make sure to showcase some of that. Maybe I'll do it on the Retro Bites. I believe Intellivision was the first to try to offer that type of service.
There's lots of video games out today. Some are better than others. But with most games costing $25 or more, the best way to play is without cartridges on Play Cable. For less than half the price of one game, you get 20 great games a month, over $500 worth. And you can play any game, anytime, 24 hours a day. Play Cable. Only a millionaire'd want to play any other way.
The sooner you order, the sooner you'll save. So call your cable company now.
And it wasn't through coaxial cable, it wasn't through Ethernet, it was through your actual phone line. But the experience, obviously, this was like in the 80s, the early 80s, I want to say. So it was the first like of its kind. Sega Channel was the first to do it right. And now we have, PlayStation Now,
Yeah.
Game
And
Pass.
everyone raves about those things, which I do as well. They're great services for the money.
Mm.
But Sega was doing this, how many years ago was that?
And successfully,
25 years ago or
right,
something.
on a system
And
that was way past like its
yeah.
viability, I think.
Yeah, and I think it was the same. It was like $15 a month
Yeah.
to pay for the channel.
Yeah.
And you got, I think Sega Channel had 50 games that were revolving, right? It was like
Yeah, it was like
50 or something like that,
I
or
think it may have been a
uh,
little less, but excuse
yeah.
me. It felt like it was 50 games, and then they would do certain themed games, like when it was Halloween, the
Yeah.
background of, once it pulled up on your system, it would be a Halloween theme. That was the first time I played a lot of games that were previously unreleased also. So different Garfield games. First time I played Primal Rage on a home system was on Sega Channel.
Primal Rage.
Yeah, played Toe Jam and Earl actually was on the Sega Channel. So yeah, that was amazing.
Cool service.
Yeah,
Cool
such a great service. Let's see. So I think, just to throw this in the mix,
Uh-huh.
because that's our big sports guys. I'm gonna go with anything. So whether it's Mutant League
Mm-hmm.
hockey, Mutant League football, those games to me were such a what is this? But I'm not gonna stop playing it type of thing. The fact that
That
you were actual mutants, right? Whether it's the skeleton guys or the green guys, which I forget what they're called now. There was a cartoon associated with it, and I used to watch it. Uh, I don't know why I was watching that. That was bad. I was way too old
Well,
to be watching that.
I like that you brought up this game because that seemed like a sports game that was made for people like us that
Yes.
maybe aren't super into sports games, but
Yep.
love the horror genre
Right.
or like just monsters in general. And you got to play as all those monsters, but
Yeah.
you're playing football
I got to play as them.
or
All
hockey. There
right.
was a hockey one.
Yeah, I got to tackle you, and your head just came right off. Like, you know how awesome that is? And there's
Yep.
all these weird hazards on the field, like there'd be radioactive puddles and bombs and just all kind of crazy stuff was always happening in those games. To me that was one where I know there is a remake of it now, which of course it looks better and all those things, but at the time there wasn't anything that was like that. And it was just made to be fun. It wasn't about you really calling plays. All right. I didn't feel like I was, Gruden. I didn't feel like I was really coaching anyone.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that. And it really just kind of goes back to just have fun.
Yeah.
Right. Like just this is what this is
Well,
all
at
about.
that time, it was Madden was blowing up in popularity, and I
Yeah.
think NHL had that game. They all looked very similar. Looking down at the
Mhm.
characters, the graphics all looked the same.
Yeah.
Mutant League kind of had the same graphics, but with everything was zany
Just
and
wild. It's a
yeah,
wild time.
like your coach was like this ogre-looking guy,
Right.
and so
I think the only other type of sports games, I mean, obviously your NBA jams, right?
yeah,
It was basketball, but it was just fun.
yeah,
Um,
total arcade style.
right. Blitz
Lit,
99,
yeah.
right? Like that's one of my favorite football games because it's just let's just have fun, right? Like I've always been that guy who, if you want to go and play the actual sport in real life, I can go and do that. Okay, like
Yeah,
we can
if
go
you
and do
want.
that all day long.
Yeah,
But if I just want to have a good time, that's what games have always been for me. So that
yeah.
escape was always cool. I guess Arch Rivals might be the first game that was zany like that, where it's basketball,
Mhm.
but you really just throwing jabs and hooks all day.
Yeah.
You can get one basket and then beat everyone up and then still win.
Yeah,
2 to
these
0.
games don't have refs.
No, 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 no. And I think in Arch Rivals they had a ref, but you could punch him out. To It's just like that's awesome, man.
Oh,
Yeah, I always enjoyed
yeah.
that type of zaniness. But yeah, that'd be up there to me, just to throw in a different genre of game. Um, you gotta have Mutant League, anything, Mutant League,
Yeah.
anything.
Well, you just made me think of a game that I just want to bring up. I didn't have this one marked down, but I gotta mention it because I know we both love it. And the way I know we both love it is you used to set up this game to be AI controlled where no one was playing.
Yes.
And we
Yes.
would watch that all day
Yes.
for like a week straight until management finally came down and said, stop.
Like, what are you guys doing? They're like, man, we're in Vegas. What do you mean we can't bet on this? What
So
are you
this is
talking
a
about?
Royal Rumble, the
Yes.
wrestling game. And this is where you just see the ring, and Royal Rumble is what, 4 wrestlers on the ring at once?
Oh, it was, I think we
Was it?
did it on Sega. So I think there were 8 guys in the ring.
Oh,
It was just mayhem in the
and
very
when
beginning.
someone
People
gets
were just
thrown
flying,
out,
right?
yeah. I mean, someone steps in and, Hulk just throws him out
You're right out,
up.
right? And what we would do, and you're right, man. This was so much fun. When I found this game, I was like, oh, you know what? I can set it up. It'd be just like real wrestling. All right, anyone have any money? And everyone's like, well, we don't really want to bet. I'm like, ah, come on, So we were just doing like 25-cent bets at first, and then that, went from 25 cents to who's got dollars, right? I think when the dollars hit is when
Start getting serious. Management came
Yeah.
down and
But oh man, that was awesome. You would be, hey, I want Tatanka. That's my guy. I'm putting my money on him. He
yeah.
would come in as the last guy, and you're like, that's not fair. I'm like, that's perfect. He's my guy. He would walk in, and someone would throw him right out, and you're like, oh my god. Oh, that was good.
My dude
times.
was the narcissist.
Oh, Lex Luger, yeah, that was
Lex
my
Luger,
guy.
man. Yeah.
That was my guy.
Yep.
Him and the Taker, of course. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. I forgot.
Well, and the reason I thought of that was when I don't think you could do it I don't think there was a ref during normal Royal Rumble match, but if you were playing a regular wrestling match, couldn't you knock out the ref?
So you could do that there was only a couple wrestling games that you could do that in that I'm recalling now, from that old
Was there a
school
ref
era.
in that game?
There
Maybe I'm
wasn't.
thinking of a different game.
I don't think there was a ref in that one and I think just because of sprite limitations,
Yeah.
right? Like there were honestly, that's a lot going on for a 16-bit cart, right? And zero slowdown. There's music still playing. You got crowd reactions. You got, 14 of us idiots standing around watching, right? Honestly, that's why we got in trouble.
Yeah.
14
The
people
crowd
in
was
there.
getting so big
Right. And
watching this.
every once in a while, some guy would walk out the room, and you're like, oh, his guy must have lost.
Yep. Someone
So
walk
he's
out the room
working.
upset. Like,
Yes.
whatever.
Good times, man. Good times.
Yep. That was great.
Yeah. Good game.
All right, so one of my favorite games of all times, it came out on Sega as well. The first one came out in 1990, and the second one came out in 1992. Now, there was a third one that came out, but a different company ended up producing this one, and I just played a little bit of it. It wasn't as interesting, but it's called Star Control. And Star Control 1 was very different from Star Control 2 and 3, where Star Control 1 was sort of a strategy game where you have this star system that you're looking down at, and you send your ship to the different star systems, and you try and, when you land on, like, say, a moon or a planet, you tell the game what to do. Oh, I want to start mining on this, or I want to colonize. And every so often the other ships would land on the same star as you, and you would have to battle. So it would leave that strategy style map, and you would go into a view of just a small area, and sometimes there'd be a planet or a moon. If you were orbiting something, it would be there on the battle. And you're basically looking down on your ship, kind of.
Like
but you
that
could
type
go
of isometric view, or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That Diablo view, or were you like straight down on
Yes.
it?
Straight down.
Okay.
So you're looking straight down, and you can fly your ship wherever towards each other, and it would be like a, push up to accelerate and turn left and right. And because there's no gravity, your ship would keep going that way. So you'd have to turn and jet the other way.
Mm.
And if you went off one side of the map, you would pop out the other side. And if you flew next to the planet, depending on the size of the planet, the gravity was stronger or weaker, and you could use that to slingshot or orbit yourself around in really cool ways to gain speed and catch up to the other ship. So if two ships were the same speed, you could really just run away from the other guy the whole time and never get caught. But if you went and flew around that planet and whipped yourself around, you could then fly faster than him and catch up to him and shoot each other. Each ship also, there was a lot of different ships had different abilities. Some, like the siren, when she was close to you, she could yell out this siren call, and your health is people in your ship. And so if you had a larger ship, say there's like 30 people in your ship or 50 people in your ship, and it would show you up on the top. Well, this siren would call out and it would force like 5 guys jump out of your ship because they don't want in there anymore. So they'll jump out and you'll see these guys floating around in space, and the siren would fly over them and pick them up. And so she'd be filling up her own health.
Wow.
There'd be
The
guys
people
that
would
shoot
jump
out
out and they're
giant
dead?
lasers. No, they would just jump out of the ship like abandoned ship, and
Oh,
you
that's
would
awesome.
fly over them and capture them, and then now they're your people.
That's awesome.
So you would win these battles, destroy other ships, and then you would take over the map. You would get upgrades and supplies and everything from mining and all this stuff, and you would end up taking over the whole map. And that's how the first game played. Second game started out where you're this ship that left our galaxy, or I think you flew to another galaxy, and you're just like survivors of the human race. And that style of flying the ship where you're looking down, you're now flying that ship through space, through an open map.
Hmm.
And you're traveling to different planets and looking for different things. You could open up a star map and see that this map was gigantic, but it was still that top-down view, but you're flying to these places. Um, and on the way to those places, ships would encounter you by literally flying into you. And sometimes you could escape them if you're fast enough, but most of the time they're faster than you and they would catch up to you, then you'd go into that same style battle and you'd have to fight them. Well, what was cool was your ship in part 2 was like a generic skeleton of a ship. And as you're playing and upgrading your ship, you're building decks to this ship, and you actually put the decks where you wanted on the ship. So you actually kind of design the ship, and you
Oh,
would
that's
add
cool.
like a deck for crew. And so that crew deck would give you more life because you have more people in your ship. Then you could add another deck that's propulsion systems, and that would make your ship faster. And then, weapon systems, and there's a variety of weapon systems. And it was really cool to design your ship and just to be able to outplay the different species you come in contact with by doing different things like that. Um,
That sounds like it's impossible to be on a system cart in
so
those
I
days.
so I'll tell you that I'm glad you brought that up. So Star Control 1, I'm sorry, was on Sega.
Hmm.
That was the strategy type one. Part 2 was on DOS. So I
Okay.
played part 2 on
Okay.
MS-DOS, which most of people know, but if you don't, Windows runs on your computer. DOS is like the background,
Yeah.
right? It's like the
Yeah.
guts of your computer.
No
And
one, no one who remembers DOS likes DOS other than the non-bloat factor,
yeah,
right? That Windows
yeah,
gives you. You got to give it
that's
that.
true. It
So,
doesn't have that. You could,
yeah.
yeah. You would basically have to exit Windows, which can you even exit Windows anymore?
I don't think,
I've never
well,
tried.
yeah, I mean, you can, yeah, you can. Yeah, you
You
can.
can. Okay.
Yeah, there's still
Well,
DOS prompts and stuff like that.
okay, there is. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, just for gamers, you don't have to do that anymore. So I
Yeah.
doubt, unless you're programming your computer, yeah,
Right.
which, yeah. So you'd go into DOS and you type, a prompt that would say like Star Control 2 play /play or something, and it would pull it up. You'd play it.
The things we
Um,
had to do,
yeah, just to play our games.
right? Just to play your
But you're
games.
right though, because that was a big game for the time, and that's what kind of blew me away. And the best part of that game is, for me, of its time, if you've played the Mass Effect trilogy, the awesome story writing, the storyline, the writing in the game, the characters, um, the way they develop out is so amazing on the Mass Effect trilogy of that time in the early 90s. That was Star Control for me, where the different species you encounter are so interesting. And when you encounter them, before you fight, I forgot to mention, you have a conversation with them and it shows them animated on your screen, and you choose what to reply whenever they say something. You have to reply back to them, and you could become allies with the whole race and they would stop attacking you, or they would help you, or you know, you would just carry on and not fight each other, or they would be upset and like you're gonna die. um
Wow.
the game part 2 came with this book, and remember, games used to come with a book.
I remember that. I have some that I've collected, and I'm like, you're collecting instruction guides and books like that. That
It was the
existed.
best.
Yeah, that existed
I
at one point.
I would read through that book over and over when I wasn't playing the game, because I was so interested in the lore of it that I would just read, because in the book it would have expanded storylines of each species.
Right.
And I would just sit there and read about each one, and then you end up loving this species and hating this one because, of their writing.
Right.
And part 2 was just really interesting story as well, because when I think back on it, it kind of has that Mass Effect storyline where there's these certain aliens that are catching up to you, and you find this backstory with them and what they've been doing. And what they do is they come and they wipe the whole like universe or galaxy of life. And then when it builds back up, they do it again, and they enslave everyone. They either enslave you or kill you. And they do this on a
That's really
cycle
nice.
kind of thing. And so the game actually has a timer where if you don't beat the game by that time, they enslave the galaxy.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, and there's different
Wow.
ways you could beat the game too, defeating them or getting them to not do it in certain ways. It was really interesting.
How
Really
many of
cool
these
game.
games are there? Because I thought were there 2,
So
3?
there was 3. Okay, the first 2, this is actually kind of cool too, because I was looking it up years back and I thought this was interesting. It was developed by Toys for Bob, who then
Who's that?
yeah,
Who's Bob?
I was like, who is that?
Who's this Bob guy?
And why is he making good games?
Needs toys.
Well, they made the whole Skylanders series.
Oh, so they're all right then. So as a
Right?
production house, they probably done all they needed to.
I
Right.
guess. I was like, wow. I mean,
Wow.
Skylanders and Star Control.
That was huge.
Skylanders is a cool game.
Yeah. Wow.
Cool family game to play with your kids and stuff. But yeah, so they developed that as well. I don't know what they're doing now.
Don't think they have to do anything.
I don't think so. Just counting their money.
Yeah. Wow.
So Star Control 1 and 2 were developed by them. 3 was developed by someone else. I think it was all like owned by Accolade or whatever, Accolade. And then the fans made one called Origin that was like an update of part 2 with better graphics and stuff like that, but that wasn't like an official game.
Okay.
Part 3 stuck to the same part as part 2, like the gameplay and the way the story played out. But at that time, they used real video instead of animated aliens. They used actual puppets that looked like Jim Henson puppets.
Oh, nice.
They were really well done. And you would
Nice.
talk to the puppet and try and the same kind of conversation back and forth. I thought that was really cool. And just it didn't stick with me as well as the first 2, but it was definitely cool to see that puppetry and stuff in a game
Nice.
at that time. It was cool.
I also
So.
fan made titles. I think that's so awesome, right? Because we're fans.
Yeah.
We just don't have the ability, right? So this is something we have the
Yes.
ability to do, so we're doing this.
Yeah.
But there's, for Resident Evil, there's some fan made titles that are just like mind blowing. In the PC modding community, obviously, the best of the best come out and say, hey, I love this game or this genre so much, I feel like I can do it, and not necessarily do it better, but this is my iteration on it. So shout out to the fan made titles. That stuff takes forever to do, and sometimes it's one person,
Yeah.
like a
And they do
labor
some
of
amazing
love.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, and you think about games like StarCraft were making, now this wasn't a mod, I don't think, but they have these player created maps and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And that's where like League of Legends
Right.
and these MOBAs came from,
Right.
was from fans building a cool idea, and there's a whole genre comes out of it.
Well, I think that it's cool when a fan or fan base can get together and create something. It is rare, right, that something like that happens.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, it's more often they will get right to a point where they can release it, and then the parent company that this was made, off of their works, comes in and says, "Yeah, no, no, you can't do that. You
Yeah,
can't
we
do that."
own that.
Yeah, and we watched you for the last few years develop this, and it looks amazing. And we're actually going to take a lot of your ideas that you did in your fans translation. We're going to put it in the version we've been making, but yours is shut down right now. So that's
Yeah,
unfortunate, that happens.
that
Again,
does happen.
it
Yeah.
happens a lot.
Uh, that League of Legends and what's the other one? League of Legends and can't think of the other main MOBA, but those are a good example of ones that succeeded afterwards.
Hmm.
But you're right, Blizzard came out with Heroes of the Storm and was like,
Yep.
no, we're going to do this
Yeah,
right.
we got
And
it from here, right?
the game's still up. You can still play Heroes of the Storm, but they don't really support it like they used to. I don't know that they're coming out with new content for that game anymore, but League of Legends and whatnot is still
It's been out forever now.
still going.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
funny. We,
those are like number one games on streamed on Twitch
yeah.
and on Steam and stuff still.
I mean, to say that it's been out forever when there's games like, I don't know, not StarCraft. Man, there's so many, especially,
Counter-Strike
yeah, like Counter-Strike
has been out
that's been
forever.
out forever, right?
Yeah.
Like I first got into PCs in 98, and the first things that I was hearing about was Unreal Tournament and Quake, also like
Hmm.
Quake Arena, I think it was at the time, and Team Fortress. Like that was
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And two of those titles you don't hear about anymore. You hear about the
Hmm.
Unreal Engine, but you don't hear about a legitimate game. Team Fortress is still going strong,
Still going.
still
Yeah,
going.
it is. My son plays that all the time.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I had one more, and I was going to go with this one, but I'm deciding to not. It was going to be Double Dragon. That's a very it's an important game for me growing up. Um, but I'm going to go with a title that was on the first PlayStation, mainly because I didn't know what to expect of this title. But when I played it, first I was kind of like, "Oh, it's a little kid that this stuff's happening to." But as a whole, it is such a solid game, and I don't think many people have played it. It's called Heart of Darkness, and
Okay.
you're a small kid. I believe you just have I think you fall asleep. And I haven't played this in a while, so I'm just kind of going here. I think you fall asleep in class, something like that happens, and you're having a nightmare. Whatever this nightmare is that you're having, you end up in this. Again, the graphics. This is PlayStation 1, so they weren't sure like what they wanted it to look like. It's kind of side scrolling. There's some of that in this. There's I mean, there's no
I'm
top down
looking at
views.
screenshots of it right now.
It's an amazing game. I
It
mean,
has awesome graphics.
here's the thing. This kid gets killed so much. I mean, like he gets evaporated. You see, like the skeleton inside of his body, his heart, like going like what is going? It's nothing but like child murder in this game. But that game is amazing though. It's such a great game. That's
You
one
have a
that,
dog with you, it looks like.
yep. So I got that game for free. I had sent away for some nonsense in like a PC mag back when they used to have a demo disc
Yeah.
that came with them. I
Yeah.
sent away
That's
for
where I played
something,
most of my games.
right? And whatever it was I sent away for, I won whatever it was, and I got Heart of Darkness for PlayStation. I got something for the Xbox. I forgot what that game was. I think it was just a demo disc. I got two demo discs for the PC, and I got a a few holders, like the Nintendo holders that your cartridges go in. I got a
The
couple,
sleeve.
yeah, couple for the Game Boy. It was like a whole bundle of crazy stuff. I don't know what this was, but it was amazing, and I wish we still had that stuff now.
Me
Um,
too.
but yeah, in that bundle was this game, and I was just kind of like, what is this? The cover looks so hokey, right? And that was one that I played and beat the first day, and then I played it and beat it like for the next couple months because it was just such a cool little adventure, and there's like these, it's like looks like black tar, and they
Yeah,
happen
they're
to be
like
monsters,
shadow-looking
right?
monsters, and there's different types.
There's different types, and I mean, honestly, they're only there to murder this kid. I'm telling you, the kid just dies horrifically through the entire thing. It kind of reminds me
This
of
poor kid.
Abe's Odyssey
Yeah.
in the way of, okay, I get to the screen, let me look at the screen for a bit, try to figure out what my next move is. All right, like
Yep.
these things are there. I see him over there. If I rush over here, I'm sure he's gonna kill me. There's two things crawling above me right now. So let's wait. Let's see if they got a pattern. That type of gameplay. It's super awesome. Super awesome game.
Yeah, I like the graphics on this because the characters, including you and the bad guys, are like this pixelated art
mhm.
that's obviously animated, where the background is like a painted.
It's all pre-rendered stuff.
Yeah, it's all pre-rendered, and you're just running around in it. So the backgrounds look amazing, and then the contrast between the characters and the background make it really pop. It looks cool.
Yeah, that was, again, that was off the top. I was
I
considering
like that
going
one.
with Double Dragon. Like I said, I was considering going with Diablo, Diablo
Mhm.
2 specifically, because that's my game right there. But there's something about that Heart of Darkness where anyone I've ever mentioned it to, like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, my bad. So yeah, let's give that one
That's a good one.
let's give
I
it a little
like
bit of
that one.
shine. A little bit of shine.
Yeah.
Good game though.
Speaking of Diablo 2, they're doing a remaster or whatever you want to call it, remake.
All over it.
When that comes out, we're gonna have to have a
Yeah.
special on that for you to
Oh
let
yeah.
us know what you think.
Such a
That'll be interesting.
such a great, I mean, just hearing you talk about the lore behind, like the Mass Effects characters, just the storyline with all the games. That's something for me with Diablo, where
Yeah.
again, it came with that booklet you're talking about. You just sit and thumb through it like, oh my gosh, it's
And
amazing.
Blizzard's one of the best with their concept art and their
Yeah, the
side
trailers,
lore.
the
And
trailers are
their
amazing, right?
trailers, man. For the day, they have the best
Yeah, I
trailers.
think so too. Just give me a game that looks like that,
Oh man.
right? I don't need much.
Give me a movie that looks like that. Don't
I'll
give me
take that.
the
I'll take
Warcraft movie they came out with.
What was going on there?
Ah,
Hey, it made money though, I think.
that's good.
So maybe you'll get a sequel. Movie was
Yeah.
like 3 hours. Like, ugh, I don't want that. I don't want that.
Yeah, it made my $2 at Redbox. That's all they're getting from
Way to
me.
support, man. Way to support.
Yeah. All right, that wraps it up for today. I appreciate you, Jason.
Yeah, man. It's good to be
I
on.
think we'll probably record another one sometime this week.
Okay.
But that wraps it up for episode 6. Follow us on Twitter. We're at 702gaming on Twitter. Follow us, we'll follow you. We're out of here.
All right.
See ya.